out. If you have tight hip flexors, it makes it a little bit more difficult to fire up your glutes. So before you get into your glute workout, it's good to foam roll and stretch those tight areas. So the hip flexors and then maybe the hamstrings as well. If they have some tightness, maybe due to an anterior tilt in your pelvis. So we'll come down to the foam roller and we'll find a knot here. I'm gonna work on the right side first. So I'm gonna find a knot here up in my hip flexor, upper part of my thigh. And once I find it, I'm gonna bend into that leg and I'm just gonna stay there. For about a minute and just applying that pressure. And the TFL is one of the hip flexor muscles that is a good one to work. So I'll make sure to focus on that one here in just a moment. And during this minute, feel free to straighten and rebend the leg, maybe 5 to 6 times. And then maybe even taking that foot that's pressing towards the ceiling and just drop it over to one side and over to the other, maybe 5 times each way as well. And then we'll get right into that TFL. So we'll do a stretch for this muscle as well, but it's kind of right here at the top, more outer portion of your thigh. So we'll find that muscle right there. And again, making sure you're staying on the muscle so you never want to get on your joints. Find that right there at the top. Basically just below your hip bone there. And find that spot, stay on it, and then maybe bending into that leg again and straightening it. And just staying at least a minute, maybe possibly 2 minutes. And then we'll find that on the other leg. So we'll start with that TFL first. Just finding your hip bones there, and then it's right really to the outside of that, up high to the hip. And this will feel a little bit painful, especially if you're not used to the foam rollers, so they make them some softer and some more firm. So just start with the softer one. And you don't want to feel like you're going to cry, but you do want to feel that you're applying enough pressure to hopefully break up and release a little bit. spot on this left side here. Another good muscle group to release might be the inner thighs, your adductors. So the quads, the adductors, the hamstrings, the hip flexors, whatever is the most overactive and tightest on you. If you sit a lot of times it's going to be those hip flexors for sure, because they're constantly in that flex state. You might find one side is tighter than the other. Sometimes one muscle group on one side of the body is tight and a different muscle group on the other side of the body is tighter than that one on the other side. So after that foam rolling, we're going to stretch into that same muscle, hip flexors. So come into a low lunge position here. And then just press into the top of that back foot, sliding this knee behind the hip. So I'm pressing this hip forward here and kind of pulling the other hip back, that left hip. And then if I want to deepen that stretch, I'm going to raise this arm up and find a little bit of a side body. And I'm really feeling it right there in that TFL, up in those hip flexors. So it's a tucking of that tailbone here in this stretch. I'm just finding it on that other side. So now I'll press this hip forward on the left side, kind of pull this right hip back a little, keep a tight glute on that left side so my tailbone is tucked under, taking out any arch in that low back. And pressing into the top of that back foot will help engage that hip flexor a little bit more deeply as well. And coming out of it. And then go into whatever activation exercises you choose to use to engage those glutes before you go into your workout.